welcome the County Clerk's Court's Office.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
I have questions. You have we have 4 different departments within your department, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So elections is one of them. How many employees are in the elections part of your department?
Myself and 1 elections clerk.
Okay. And then the part-time temporary employees that you have for under your payroll, are those only during election season, or do you hire them for outside election season as well?
Mainly only during election season. If we have a project or anything we're working on, we will have someone in. And all of those also come out of a trust fund. So they're all paid out of a trust fund.
Can you explain what a trust fund is?
I have several trust funds set up. Most of them are through county clerk or recorder, but they can be used for specific things. And those projects, in-house projects, is one of those.
Okay.
And extra help.
So the general election, you have here that it's $145,000. And I'm sure that's a very typical. What kind of costs come into running an election? I mean,
so that does not include staff time or salaries or operating costs like phones, power, all that, none of that, but it does include indirect costs such as the printing of the ballots, printing the sample ballots, which is, you never know, are you going to have 1 ballot type, 2 ballot types, 3 ballot types? Are you going to have a 1-page ballot, a 2-page ballot? All of that. This election, there's going to be a lot of printing costs due to we have several state initiatives on the ballot, 2 local bond measures. So all of the printing costs go into that. We have to print envelopes, outgoing and return envelopes, all the postage for all the ballots being mailed out and returned, legal notices, publications, election programming and setup in the actual election management system. We have to do poll worker stipends, poll working supplies, RAVBM setup and programming, which is remote accessible vote by mail, which we're required to have, and then also just required signage and postings and for polling places also.
So with that, I noticed that there is under revenue $25,000, but do we get any reimbursement from the state related to the state initiatives and that sort of thing?
No, we do not.
All right, but we have to follow. Okay.
Yes.
That's what I was just kind of curious. So, and then you have postage, and I think you just answer it, that you have a line item for postage, but that's all postage separate from the mailers that go out for the ballots and for the voting, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
We have to send out notification cards and 8D2 cards anytime anyone re-registers, so that's that postage for those things.
Okay. All right. And then, but as far as revenue does the revenue from, like when we ran for office, is that anywhere in for elections, or where does that revenue go?
That goes into the clerk's trust.
Okay. Okay, and then so my only other question with regard to the elections part is that do you have any anticipated budget needs in the next 3 to 5 years that might change? Is there something we should be looking at on the horizon?
No, other than, what did I put here? There's a couple of things. I see the vote centers. I don't know if you've heard much about vote centers throughout the state. A lot of counties are going to vote centers. At this point, you don't have to. It's up to each county to make their decision what they want to do. And we, of course, to this point have do polling places. I kind of feel like at some point it's going to go the direction of be required. And that would be
A change
a
in
change
the
for
budget.
us here.
What do you mean a vote center? Like
Vote centers. So instead of having 19 polling locations, you would have less locations, but open more days before the election.
Okay.
And they would be fully staffed. And these would be people, not just poll workers there, for the day, having people sign in. You'd be issuing ballots. You would be doing things that, you couldn't just have someone in there for one day to do without, a lot of
Could those
training.
be staffed by?
They would have to be staffed.
Yeah.
And we would have minimum ones here because it goes based off of population, and it would be really difficult to kind of decide where do you put that. I think we would only be required to have 2, one of which would be my office. So where do you put the other one, though,
Right. Downtown Crescent City wouldn't work, but Klamath wouldn't be helpful to Gasky.
Or Gasky.
Right, right.
And you have to have Wi-Fi connection because you have to be able to connect to the election management system. So there's a lot of requirements.
Okay. That's all I have for elections.
Anyone else?
Oh, sorry. So county clerk,
Okay.
recorder, public administrator. And you and I have had conversations where sometimes people don't even know what a public administrator does. So would you mind just kind of breaking down the differences between all these three?
Of all 3?
Yeah.
Okay. So the county clerk portion of my job, I issue marriage license and also perform civil ceremonies. We register notaries, process servers, professional photocopiers, legal document assistants, and unlawful detainer assistants. So those are all registered through my office. We also file the environmental impact reports. The recorder's side of the office, we record and file authorized documents and maps. We preserve the official archives of legally recorded documents. We maintain all marriage, birth, and death records for Del Norte County. And we issue birth, death, and marriage records for all of Del Norte County.
And then the public administrator.
Public administrator, yeah, my favorite.
I know.
So the public administrator investigates, protects, and administers estates of people who pass away in Del Norte County and have no one or any known relative at the time who is willing or able to administer their estate. The process, sometimes it's very simple, sometimes it's complex. It may include securing and protecting valuables against loss, seeing to the final disposition of the decedent's remains, locating possible next of kin, down to probating the estate if necessary.
And you said that's your favorite of them all.
Not at first, it was the most depressing, but first, good.
For sure, yeah. But probably most rewarding
Yeah.
when you can have it all
Yeah.
resolved. How many per year do you think on average do you have? I mean, it seems sad, right, that
Right.
there's no identified family. Is that common?
It's becoming more common. It's not so much now that it's no family, it's people are unwilling to step up and do.
Okay. And so the cost for that is part of this budget, right? So the cost to be able to administer their estate, if there is an estate, that is a county cost?
Most of these, I'm not required to take them unless there's funds to, and I have a public administrator's trust account too, where there's the funds that I'm able to charge from the estates to put aside for my costs.
Okay. So for professional services, 1 year there was 4,300 and the next was close to 50,000. So what types of things come up and how do you anticipate those expenses?
It's basically used to complete projects related to recording documents and all vital records. We're required to microfilm all recorded documents and vital records and keep 2 copies of those, one on site and one stored elsewhere. So that's one project that is always ongoing. When the new recording system, the recording system we used, they decided not to any longer support counties for recording. We had to get a new recording system, so funds, that was built up that year because we knew we were going to need those. And so those funds, all the funds that go into professional services also comes from my trust account.
Okay.
So at the beginning of the year, how much I think I'm going to use, and then all that money I transfer over.
Oh, so so that would be part of the intra fund?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we have
Intra.
micrographics trust account.
Okay. All right. So I have written that the property transfer tax seems to be a bit erratic. Is it calculated? How is it calculated? And is it difficult to plan a budget around these kind of erratic numbers that come up? At least it seems erratic to me.
Yes. So California Revenue and Taxation Code calls for the payment of a county documentary transfer tax on the value of all real property of which, when it's being transferred, ownership is being transferred. So we all have the same tax amount. It's 0.11% of the value of the property, and then it's rounded up by the next $500, and then the percentage applied. So it's really hard to always know, because you don't know what properties are going to sell. I mean, you know if things are moving or not moving, properties moving, but we've had a couple of big transactions of businesses selling. So of course the property tax on that is going to be larger and brings a big chunk in.
Okay.
So it's really hard to say. I mean, when we're having a boom and you know property's moving, you know it's going to be up there, but when nothing's really moving, you don't know what's really going to happen.
So can you explain what recording fees are? And then this year you seem to have exceeded the projected revenue. So I'm curious what trends are there to present that can justify that increase?
So recording fees are charged anytime anyone records a document in the office. It's set recording fees. It's $13 for the first page, $3 for each additional page for standard recording. There are certain documents that are a flat fee. There's some we record for other county offices, tax collector, community development. Most of those are no-fee documents, so there's no fee charged. It's hard to predict because, again, depending on how things are going, if things are booming and you're recording deeds of trust, which are 60, 70 pages, you're making a lot of money. But if you're recording liens that you don't charge for, or notice of defaults, which are 2 pages, you're not making so much money. So it kind of depends on what's going on, if stuff's moving, if people are refinancing, those deeds of trust are really big. So you're making more money on those.
So, and then my final question, just like with elections, do you anticipate any budget needs for the next 3 to 5 years? And I guess I say that taking into consideration kind of our aging population and this more and more that we're seeing, people don't want to step up and take care of their families' estates.
I don't see anything, my one thing is with my office is the only thing I would complain about, I guess, is my space. I just don't have enough space. I'm supposed to be the keeper of records. I'm supposed to keep everything, and I have absolutely no room. So it's really it's that, that's the most frustrating part of my job, I guess. At election time, we're moving things around and, using the closed session room when we can. And it's no one's fault. It's the way things are. And I've got a storage unit, and then I've got things over in archives. So it's just, if I could be more consolidated, it would really, we waste a lot of time moving stuff around, But other than that, I would like to, at some point soon, start electronic recording and also get going on a Visa credit card payment system, which would be nice. I've just always I hate the idea of charging somebody $3, $4, $5 just to use their debit card.
So the spaces is a good thing to talk about, because I think you've brought this up before. Have you come up with any solutions for that maybe the board could, not right today, obviously, but anticipated, like any?
I don't know what it would be. I've thought about it, but I just, we work so closely with the other offices in here. I would hate to be in a different location because, I don't know how many times we send people over to the tax collector, we send people over to the assessor's office to get something and come back. And I would hate to be running people all over, So I think it's really vital that we stay close, connected to the other offices also.
I agree. But you have, 5, 6 people? And like you said, elections, you have a lot of people in those rooms. And so is there ways that we could take some of the the documents and move them to a different location to free up some space, or do you need those documents right there on hand?
Most of our documents, all the older documents are all over in archives. They're not even in the office. The only thing we have in the office are the things that get used very frequently. And now we don't even keep paper. Everything's digital.
All right, thank you, Elise.
Any other questions?
Mine have been answered. Thank you.
No other questions to the board? You get let out early.
Yay.
Pardon me.
Oh.
Thank you for your time.
Are we going to have?
Oh, any public comment? Sorry. Public comment. I keep seeing no public comment. You are free to go.